What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Flop. This is episode 18. We're going to talk about when is it a good time to move up in divisions. But before we do that, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Triple Crown. Check them out on Facebook as always. And then, of course, go down to our Teespring link in the description to check out cool Flop merch. We really appreciate that. So let's get into it. Dad, what is up? You're just coming off a really awesome competitive doubles regional win, and I want to hear all about it. So let's do it.
Okay, yeah, it was amazing. Winning's always awesome. Everybody loves to win. So, but Craven and I, it's our second competitive regional win, and this one was very hard fought. We played a really solid team in the finals. And they were actually the team to put us into the losers bracket. So we had lost to them already and had fought back to get back into the final. And then we're able to secure the double dip. So it was pretty amazing. The games were very hard fought, back and forth. Both great players. And we were just able to edge them out that day, and so it was pretty cool. It's like I said, you always love to win, and you love to see the culmination of your work. And it was just awesome that Craven and I were able to seem to fire on all cylinders, at the same time. So it was cool.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. That's awesome. So you guys, that's your second win in competitive doubles. We are going to talk about the future and potentially moving up and things like that, but what are you guys, is like, what's your playing style? Like, why are you guys successful? Why have you been successful in the past two tournaments? Like, what is it? Like, what kind of team are you guys basically?
Well, I'll tell you, we have adopted we a different play style, and I'm very thankful to Justin for coming with me on this adventure, because when we first started playing together, he was throwing game changers and I was throwing vipers. And
wow,
it may not be a secret, but I'm not the hugest fan of game changers.
What?
I know, mind blowing.
It's crazy.
I just don't throw them well. I hate on them. I know we all joke about them and stuff like that, but I just don't throw them well. The patch, something about the patch in my hand, and even if I flip it to the fast side, then it's under my thumb. It seems to just affect my release. Long story short, he threw game changers, I threw vipers, and then we threw and we practiced together, and we just never seemed to hit it. And then I decided on my own that for singles I was going to start throwing carpet. I just wanted to slow things down. I felt like the fast bag game just wasn't. I wasn't accurate enough at the time to go hole for hole with the better players, And so I decided I needed to make a change, and I adopted the more finesse game. And I say that. And some people think, oh, he must be, maestro on the board. I'm not. No, I just mean, blocking the hole, dirtying up the board, stuff like that, And
yeah.
So I wanted to slow things down. If I could muddy up the board and try to make the most of it, I felt like that was the best way to go. And thankfully, Justin jumped right on board. And he took to the Vikings, and now he will tell you, if I don't have a Viking in my hand, I just can't play this game anymore. And I feel the same way. It's so funny because I throw a lot of different bags. Especially doing the reviews now and things like that. I throw all kinds of bags, and I love all kinds of bags. I have lots of bags that I love, and but it's funny because I'll be struggling with something. And then I'll just pick up my Vikings, and then bang, 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 here we go. It's like all of a sudden I know how to play cornhole again. So I was real thankful that Justin came along with me. And again, now he is full on board with the dirty game. And so that's basically our play style. Now, I will say that I think Justin's a little more go for the hole. He typically usually has a little higher PPR than I do, because he tends to go for the hole, and he'll throw blocks and things like that as well. And but I would say whereas I'm trying to throw blocks a lot more, he's throwing them strategically. So he's thinking about it a little more, and he's purposefully, okay, if this guy's going hole for hole, he'll throw a strategic block. But other than that, if they throw their first bag off, then he's more than likely going to go in. So for me, I like to just gum things up, and I like to get in the way and it just have a lot of fun that way. If I can, I'm still trying to perfect the roll bag. I'm getting better at it, but I love to utilize that. My air mill is not strong, so for me, it's like block and roll, push, things like that. That's what I usually try to do. So, yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you guys are having success with it, and yeah, I think it's a great decision to as a team kind of go with an objective or a strategy. Like, we're going to be, dirtier style players, or whatever. Maybe just be adaptive and be able to go for the hole if you need to and stuff. I guess that's all like opponent dependent.
It really is.
And stuff too.
Yeah.
So okay, cool. So you guys won in competitive doubles, and then singles. How did that go?
Singles, man. I cannot get the success in singles. I'm so blessed that we've been able to win in doubles, but I have not been able to secure. Not only have I not secured a singles first, I have not secured a singles podium. I have not even ever made it onto the podium of competitive singles. So I went. Man. I think I was 1-2. And my two losses were very hard fought. I lost my first game, and for those of you interested, all of these games are posted on the flop page. I did something different. We wanted to try something out, and so I live streamed the game to see if anybody would be interested in watching a middle of the road cornhole player throw bags. So if any of you want to go and watch these games, you're more than welcome to do that. But yeah, the first game I lost, we literally went back and forth. I mean, it was like he got 2, I got 3. He'd get 3, I'd get 2, and we would go and like just lead changes ticking up the board the entire time. And then he was able to edge me out at the end, and so congratulations to him. He played really well. That gentleman, I think, ended up getting second in competitive singles. So good for him. It was a great win for him. And then I won my second game, and then I lost another hard-fought game. My third game to go out was a local guy as well, who is just, I would say, traditionally, statistically, watching him play and being around him, he is a better player than I am. And so, but it was a very hard-fought battle. I think he won that one 24-19. So it was right down to the wire. And he was able to edge it out. So I ended up placing 7th, in a field of 14 or 15 players. So right there in the middle. But that's as far as I could get. So
cool. So, well, I'm sorry that singles didn't go as well as doubles. Obviously, anything under first place would be singles, not going as well as doubles. But that's kind of the reason I kind of ask. How both of them went is because that kind of brings us into our topic today. Because I want to ask you, what's your situation right now? Like, you've won 2 competitive double ACL regionals locally, but you haven't had the same success in singles. So what do you do as far, like, I know people are probably reaching out to you like, okay, it's time to move up. Obviously, you won competitive twice. Like, in doubles, it's clearly it's time. But how do you feel? What are you actually going to do? And well, let's just talk about that. Like, how are you going to make the decision?
Well, I mean, as far as where I'm at, there has been a lot of very helpful people who have been suggesting that I should be moving into advanced now. But and I've told you before, I appreciate all of the confidence that people who know me have in my ability to play this game. I am so much better to so many people than I actually am in real life, and it just means the most to me. It nice. It warms my heart, that people are just like, oh, you're so good, you need to be in advanced, and I'm just like, no. So basically, I mean, I'm open to debating about it in my head and things like that, but where I'm at, I feel like right now, my goal is to win competitive singles. My goal, because that would be my accomplishment, based on my ability, my work ethic, my practicing, my putting time in. Winning competitive singles would be the culmination of all of that hard work. And then to me, it would be time to move on into advanced. I am not a player who is trying to chase money. I don't get a thrill out of beating people that I'm better than. I mean, I'll play with anyone and I don't care and I'll have a great time. But I mean, as far as a challenge, like I don't step away from a game where I'm playing someone that I'm better than and I'm just like, yeah, that's right, and puffing my chest up. It's like, and not to sound cocky or anything, but it's like, of course you won. You should have won. You should have won that game.
Yeah, just experience and
right, exactly. Like and so it's awesome as it is to win competitive doubles, and especially as awesome to win with my good friend Justin, who we've been throwing together since the beginning, and it's just amazing, and we both love it so much. And but that is a shared accomplishment. That is a shared goal. That is a culmination of our goals and our dreams together, But I have not even podiumed in singles. So to me, it's like, you still had a long way to go. Like, you're not ready. I mean, okay, I haven't podiumed in competitive singles. What am I expected to do in advanced singles?
Yeah, it's a good point. And it's kind of hard because you're performing really well in one, and then one you just kind of haven't broken through yet. And so it kind of it puts you in a weird spot. Like, I feel like people probably aren't in your position very much where obviously you haven't won a million times, right. But you've won 2 times now in doubles, and it's like, when is that going to carry over into singles? And I think you and I were kind of talking earlier, but I think this debate can kind of be settled in like the numbers and the data and stuff, because we were talking and I was trying to put myself in your shoes. I was thinking, okay, what would I do? Like, what would I do if I had won competitive doubles twice, but I haven't podiumed in singles? And from the outside looking in, I just kind of thought it's really how you frame that question. To be honest, like if I said to you, hey, I'm going to put you in a scenario. You've won competitive doubles twice now. Do you think it's time to move up to advanced? I would be like, yeah, of course, absolutely. Yeah. But if I said to you, okay, you've won competitive doubles twice now, and your PPR both times was an average of 7.1. Do you think it's time, or not even that you've won competitive doubles twice? Hey, your PPR average is 7.1 or whatever. You think it's time to move up to advanced? I'd be like, are you kidding me? That's not even a question. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna get absolutely obliterated. Everybody in advanced, like where I'm playing at, is absolutely throwing over a 9.
Right.
Maybe high 8. But yeah, I'm gonna take a 7 PPR into the advanced division. No. I just don't see it, being feasible. So it's really how you ask the question. You can make anybody feel anything about the situation.
Absolutely. You're so right. And I mean, a perfect example is we won competitive doubles. Looking, and I pull up on my handy dandy little ACL app.
Sweet.
I averaged in competitive doubles. My average for all the games, every game, not one specific game, was a 7.62. Craven's,
that's good.
That is good bags. I'm happy with it. Craven averaged a 7.15. We were ranked in the list of PPR respectively. I was 7, he was 9 out of PPR,
and we were able to
win because of our play style and because of to be honest, just some players that we played against maybe having off days, because I'm not naming names because I don't want to do that, but I know that one of the players we played threw uncharacteristically poorly, And I believe it was
Part
because
of
of the bags. He just was not able to get it together with the type of bags they were throwing. So, point is like, he throws like he normally throws. We probably don't win, but
yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of my point though. And like, in singles, I threw a bit better, but went 1-2. So in singles, I had a 7.91. So I'm knocking on the 8's door, which is cool. But I had the third highest PPR, and I went 1-2. So again, people beat me that had lower PPR. So PPR doesn't generally mean the most, but it has to be taken into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, that's just so hard for me. I think like, I don't know. You have to find the balance between, because we always say like, a win's a win. Like we're super excited about it, but like, is a win a win? And are you going to use that as the sole determining factor for you going to play against people that are throwing above 9s all the time? Like, it's like, I just feel like that's not all the information.
No, it's not, because a perfect example, let's go with singles. Okay. I said in singles, I had a 7.91 in singles. I'm looking at the advanced singles players. I would have been fourth from the bottom of advanced out of 16 players. And I'm looking at some of the names that would have been below me, and again, uncharacteristically low PPRs for what they normally throw. These 3 people that would go below my PPR always are in mid 8s or high 8s traditionally. And so, it depends on who's better on the day, and that is absolutely accurate. But you've talked about before, what was it with the competition? You talk about how the correct place for you to be is around people who are doing just a little bit better than you.
Yeah. It's like I think it's like a psychology term, but basically they call it like the zone of proximal development. They've tested with, animals, like specifically with mice that wrestle each other and stuff. The place where their brains learn and grow the most and develop is when they are able to compete with their peers. Like it's a back and forth. They're not winning every single wrestling match, but they're actually winning some and losing some, and it's kind of, they're just below that ability to, beat out their peers in what they're doing, and that creates that zone of proximal development. It's the best place for you to grow. Right. So for example, in those same studies, the mice that just get absolutely pummeled and, dominated by their peers, they don't grow. They don't develop because they are unable to compete. It's like me playing basketball against a 6-year-old. Like, they're not going to get better if I'm literally playing at my full capacity, just windmill, touch my heels behind my head and dunk on the 5-foot goal. Yeah. They're not going to get any better if I do that. I'm going to have a lot of fun.
It's going to be a great time.
But they're not going to have any fun. So, yeah, it's really about maintaining and staying in competition. Yeah. Competition breeds excellence. Like, that's what you need. Yeah. And we, unfortunately, as far as like, some people do absolutely believe you have to do your time, you have to get your butt kicked for a long time, and then eventually, pull your way out of it. And that's a very great mentality too. Mm-hmm. That's, pick yourself up by the bootstraps. Yeah. I'm that way, honestly. I really am. Like, I'm very used to losing at this game, and I think it makes me better. It makes me practice more, and it's a mental thing for me. I kind of like the suffering. I kind of like hating myself driving home in the car because I'm just going to practice so much. Yeah, exactly. But that's not for everybody, and you have to figure out what's going to be best for you in the long run. And sometimes I think, specifically with cornhole, where maybe I'm driving 2 hours to go play, and I'm going to play 2 games, and absolutely get obliterated because I throw a 7 or I throw a 6.9, and then these guys are all throwing above 9, and then I play 2 games and I go home. Like, that doesn't seem like I'm getting much better doing that.
Correct.
I'm going to get much better if I'm battling out. I get to feel there's all kinds of like intangibles and stuff too. Like, everybody knows what it's like to go back and forth with someone in a game, and it's crazy and it's stressful, and you're having to play under stress, and you're like, who's going to mess up first? There is no who's going to mess up first if I go play in advanced. It's going to be
100%.
me. Who's going to mess up first? Zach. Every single time, always, forever in this game.
Yeah.
That's what it's going
to be.
So that's not fun.
Perfect example of what you just said. I have a couple of little things to say about that. But one of my games, the one that put me out, and I looked at it today when I was preparing for the show, and I found it so interesting because, okay, I played this player, and like I said, he's better than I am. So I mean, it is what it is. But we threw a total of 56 bags. Okay, we both had 31 bags in. I had 18 bags on. He had 23 bags on. I had 7 bags off. He had 2 bags off. And I lost by 5. So I keep those bags on the board, and I maybe win that game. But it was down to 5 bags being on or in versus off the board. You know? And it was a really tough back and forth game. And but like you said, those games are rewarding. You know, those, at the end of those games, you can walk away and feel good about a loss because you're like, I mean, you know, it could have gone either way. And then when you look at the stats and you see that literally the difference was 5 bags I threw off the board versus him keeping them on, not even going in the hole. We had the same amount of bags in the hole. It literally came down to what was laying on the board, you know? So, but anyway, those kinds of games, I feel like, mean the most. And so when you're looking at the like what you talked about playing competitive, and I don't mean the division, I mean competitively versus another player, that's the best way to grow. You know, not getting discouraged, not being okay, well, let me run in here real quick, go 0-2 so I can get to the house. You know, it's just there's just not a lot of hope when you know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you're outmatched. I mean, it's my
tough.
highest. I think I threw like an 8.3 PPR at the last regional, and again, I didn't podium. You know,
Sweet.
I didn't podium. But it was like one of my highest PPR shooting events that I've had, and the top advanced players were all in the 9s and 10s. There were a couple 11s. It's like. Yeah, it's just I'm not going to be. Let's say that nobody else even threw close to that. What is that? That's going to put me at like 8th or 9th. You know, it's like it's and so to me, battling it out is what makes you grow. Not being beaten down, that doesn't make you grow. All the games that we played in competitive doubles, and we ended up going to finals and double dipping, were hard games. We didn't just walk through anybody. You know, they're tough fought games, you know, going back and forth, battling it out. And it just so happened that we came out on top. And that's amazing. It's an amazing feeling to know that, man, you know, you lost, but you pulled it back together. You beat the team that beat you, and you beat them twice. You know, it's so cool.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's exhilarating. But again, you know, like we talked about, we wouldn't have experienced that feeling, you know, if we were in advanced. We would have experienced losing 2 games in a row, and then, you know, heading to the house.
Yeah, I think that the potential for a game to go either way is something you need to be looking for when you're deciding what division you need to play in. Like, you guys lost to the team that you had a double dip, right? And so they beat you. If like. And this is just a rule of thumb for anybody. I feel like if you lose to somebody and you're like, I could have beat them. Like, I know I can beat them. Then you better not be the same person saying that person needs to move up.
Yeah.
Because that literally negates your point, what you just said. You just said you could compete with them. You just said that it could have went either way, and I should have had that. If you should have had that, then you guys are in the right division, and you guys need to duke it out, and it's going to go other way, one way or the other, and somebody has to win every time.
Right, you're absolutely right. And it's funny you say that. It's like it's never the guys or gals who finish above you that are like, you should really move up. It's always the people funny. Under that are just like, you need to get out of the way so that I've got a shot. And that is a very real feeling because to point out the regional that we won the doubles the last time, I ended up losing. I won my first game in singles. I went 1-2 again. I won my first game in singles, lost to the player who got number 1, and then lost to the player who got number 2. In this singles event, the player who got number 1 last time moved up to advanced, and the player who got number 2 last time was number 1. So you see how it's tracking. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way that goes. And so it's a natural progression. And for me, it's like we've said before, I'm not chasing the money. I love to win money. That's great, but I want to be good at this game. That's the whole reason I play it, is to be the best that I can be. And so I've said it a million times, and everybody jokes and everybody talks about, sandbagger, or you should be in advanced, or this, that, the other. If I could compete in advanced, I would be in advanced. Like, no questions asked. I'm not that guy that's going to win competitive singles 7 times. Like, no, I'm good. I'm going to stay right here. I'm going to get this easy money. You know what I'm saying? In fact, I don't even know that I'd have to win it twice to think about moving up. Like, if I could just win it one time, I'd be like, okay, we've accomplished it. Especially if it was a hard fought tournament, or not, maybe not even a hard fought tournament. Maybe especially if it wasn't a hard fought tournament and I got first, it's like, okay, that was a little easy. It's time to go, But even if it was a hard fought tournament, like, I want to push myself. It's just that I can see what my PPR is and where I'm throwing, and I can see what the PPRs are in advanced. And right now, I don't compete with them.
Yeah, I mean, it's all on the app. Like, it's all, you can look at all of it. It's not, I don't know, it's not a very subjective game, to be honest. Like, it's very data driven, like we always talk about.
It is.
And I think another thing, like, honestly, like, I think a lot of people, they don't want people to keep winning in competitive because, like, they tell people to move up because they want that spot to open up. Like, you need to stop winning in this division because I want to, like, be there winning in this division. Well, it's like, well, you can bet when you start winning this division, I'm just going to tell you to move up as well. And we're both just going to be getting killed in advanced. Like, that's fine with me. Yeah, come down here or come up here to advanced, and we'll both get destroyed together. We'll go out to eat.
Yeah, and it's like you said, though. It's like, so many people. It's like advanced is the pinnacle. Well, outside of pro, because I know they differentiate between advanced and pro. But locally, regionals more. There's usually not like a pro division at like local regionals, unless you're in like a huge area or something. But so, advanced is the pinnacle. So anytime anybody wins in any division that's not advanced, it's like, oh, you need to go. You need to go up. Like if you win in beginners, okay, it's time for you to go up to intermediate. Oh, you win in intermediate, it's time for you to go up to competitive, But the thing is like we've said it a million times, this game at our level ebbs and flows. And so many times you show up and you might throw your face off. Like you can't miss the hole. You are like a humorous cornhole meme where you're just throwing the bag and off your foot and kneeing it, and it's just all going in the hole every time. And then the very next time, maybe even the next game, you show up to the board and it's like, ooh, that was rough. You know, like where was it? You know, like that
happens to me all the time.
I had a couple of really good games, man. I had one game. It was 6 rounds, so it was not the longest game in the world, but I had a 9.83. You know? Yeah, I threw amazing. The very next game, I threw a 7.1. And then the game after that, it was a 7.43. So it's like, you know, I'm trying to just be objective. Oh, in the game before that 9, I threw a 7. So it's like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, yeah, I got that gem in there. I got that freaking 9.83 that, you know, if you were looking at just that game, someone would be like, this man has zero business being in advanced. And then I'm like...
And people do that a lot,
They do. And it's like...
People will be like, that dude just threw a 9.5. Like,
yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah, there's no way. It's like, okay, let me show you the 4 games surrounding that game. All of them in the 7s. You know? It's like... And so I try to extend the same grace to people that I see winning in other divisions. And, you know, it's not always the easiest thing in the world to do.
Me too.
It's not always the easiest thing in the world to do when you see somebody that you're like, that one's debatable. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, you know what? I'm not paying attention to every game they throw. I'm only paying attention to the one they threw against me. You know?
Exactly. That's what we all do.
Right.
I mean, honestly.
We're the stars of our movie.
Yeah, so we kind of got to have to... That's right. Yeah, we have to break out of that and realize that we're not. And, you know, everybody is, you know, they could have destroyed you, just waxed you, but the next game they're just kicking themselves, you know, hating life because they, you know, throwing bags off and stuff. It's just part of it. It is
part of it.
And I think it's a really hard... Like, the place you're in right now is pretty difficult, being on the cusp of, you know, moving from competitive to advanced, because it's just very different than the place I'm in. Like, I just recently decided, like, I'm not going to play intermediate anymore, and I'm going to move up to competitive. And the reason for that is, honestly, not because of my PPR. Like historically, my PPR is not great. A lot of times it's in the 6s most of the time. And but the thing is the reason I've moved, or the reason I'm going to move, is because I'm just not a beginner anymore. That's really what it comes down to. Is there's just a lot of beginner players in intermediate, and it just feels weird. It feels awkward to me. I've only been playing like a year, but I've put in so many hours, and I love the game, and I'm ready to compete. I'm ready to get into that zone of proximal development, like we're talking about, and I'm probably going to lose a lot more games when I go to competitive, and that's fine with me. But it's just different because the transition from intermediate to competitive is literally, hey, I'm not a beginner anymore, so I'm not going to play in intermediate anymore. I'm going to move to a place where most people throw a pretty flat bag. Most people are throwing 7s or 8s most of the time. You know, not talking PPR, just, you know, round to round, just general feel. Most people can kind of airmail or bully, or, you know, just they know the game. I think that's really what it is. It's a knowledge gap from intermediate to competitive, and then it's a real skill gap from competitive to advanced.
You said that absolutely perfectly. That is it 100%. You can look at players in intermediate, and some of them have no strategy. Some of them don't know.
That's right.
You know, don't know the ins and outs of the game, don't know the intricacies, don't know these things. And you know, you made the joke before, you're just like, mentally, I'm an advanced player, but ability-wise, I'm not, you know? And but you absolutely nail it, because you're so smart and analytical and cerebral about this game, and you know,
thank you,
of course, you know how to play, you know strategy, you know the best way to attack an opposing player when you see what their play style is. Like, these are things you recognize, whereas a beginner starting out, an intermediate coming to a blind draw, it's just about getting the bag on the board, you know. Oh, he
That's
threw
right.
one in the hole. Well, okay, and that one's on the board. Great. It's not about, well, let me try to get in his way, or let me do this, or let me do that. It's just, oh, I hit the front of the board, or oh, I shot it off the back, and I'll just, worry about the next bag. But yeah, you're right. The gap between an intermediate player and competitive player is definitely a knowledge gap. But like you said, once competitive players are every bit as analytical, every bit as cerebral as an advanced player. The skill level is just not matching.
They just can't execute. It's just the consistency. It's just too hard to be that good all the time, for them at that moment.
Because I'm the same way. Like, I know the best way to play every player I step up next to. I just can't execute it all the time.
Yep.
I throw a block and it slides off to the right, and then, the round falls apart because they're not going to miss.
Yeah.
And you don't want to risk throwing another block that you're going to, potentially miss. So it's like, I don't want to get, okay, now I need to try to give up 2 instead of giving up 4,
Mm-hmm. So. And that's the beauty of the game. Like, the beauty of the game is the consequences. Like, if you're playing in a division where you're not worried if you miss a bag, then, I would still say that. If you're not worried that you just messed up, that your block didn't hit right or whatever, like, then you should probably move up, because that's what makes the game fun, is the just knowing that, like, I have to make this bag now. Like, I don't have any room. If I don't get this 7 right here because I just screwed up, like, this is about to be a bad round. Yeah. That's what's fun. And that's, like, when you really get into high-pressure situations and it turns into more than a backyard game.
It absolutely does. And I can think of one particular round I had in my first game of singles where I hit some 6 shots. So I had hit, I think I want to say 2 rolls actually in a row. And so
sweet.
The player I was playing against had 3 on the board. So I already had 9. He had 3 on the board. And then I think 1 off. It was going to be, no. He had 1 in. I'm sorry. So I was going for the 6. I was trying to get the 6 on this round. So instead of laying up on the board, I went for that last bag roll and I clanged it off the side of the board. And I'm just like, all because I'm just trying to be greedy. You know what I mean? Like, I could have gone on the board in that situation and taken 4 points. Or even potentially gone through his blocker and taken 4 points. You know what I mean? But it's like, it's not quite there. You see it in your head and you see the way that's going to go down. I had just hit 2 roll bags, so I knew I was capable of doing it. And then I should have known better, though, because usually I'm good for like a couple of really good shots, and then I'll throw the clanger. So.
Oh, no doubt. So,
but
you got to get that one in somewhere.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of how we feel about it. I mean, it's not to say that our minds can't be changed, and I'm sure that there will be plenty of you in the comments that will try to change them. And but I'm just, it's tough, and it's a subjective thing, and it's a person-to-person thing, and you have to ask yourself, am I the type of person that needs to be absolutely destroyed beyond all reason every time I play this game to fuel me enough to get better? Or am I the person that knows that I would benefit from actually competing and not knowing if I'm going to win the game or not, but believing in myself? Like, that's another thing. Like, practice believing in yourself. I play with some great players at these blind draws, and I do believe in myself, and I try to practice, but I'm not practicing nothing, believing nothing when I'm playing, Bobby Hunt out here, who's one of the best players in the country I've ever seen play with my eyes. Yeah. Like, he's so amazing, good. And it's unbelievable to watch. But yeah, you want to be in that zone where you can practice that self-belief and practice that discipline of overcoming adversity and stuff like that. So, it's just a personal preference thing, I think honestly.
And you have to recognize what kind of person you are. And for me, I look at life as incremental goals, okay? I would say that I'm the kind of person who likes to set attainable goals and then meet those goals and then go from there. If you are, let's say that you're, if it's a person who's trying to lose weight or something, you don't say, If you have the weight to lose, I want to preface that, not everybody has 100 pounds, but let's say you want to lose 100 pounds. You don't say I want to lose 100 pounds and I want it lost by next month. That's not attainable unless you're cutting off body parts. So you want to be able to, you want to set a realistic goal. You can say, look, I want to lose 100 pounds in a year, but I'm going to start by losing 10 pounds this month. And then when you succeed and you lose that 10 pounds, you're motivated, you're driven. You're like, I can do this. I can do this. I'm showing that I can do this. And then eventually you're able to meet each goal along the way. Like for me, my goal is to play in advanced. That is my goal. I don't want to just be the best competitive player in my area. I want to play in advanced. I want everyone to feel pressure when I walk up to the board. And I don't mean like in a jerk way, I just want to be that good. I want to be the one that somebody else is like, I can't miss. I cannot miss.
Yeah, of course. That's better for everyone.
So that's the goal that I have. And so, yes, my goal is to be in advanced, but I just don't think that my goal is to be in advanced now because I'm not going to have any milestones. I'm not going to have any goals to achieve because it's just not feasible right now, So right now, my goal is to win competitive singles. And again, it's like I talked about. I'm not even trying to win competitive singles multiple times, But if I can win competitive singles once, then I'm probably ready to move up at that point because I would have checked off a goal, And it's time to go to phase 2. Or phase 3 or wherever I'm at this point. I haven't really made a list of them. But the one in front of me right now is to win competitive singles because that's my goal. Justin and I had a goal together to win competitive doubles. And we were able to do that. And that was amazing. But my own personal goal is to win competitive singles. And I'll be honest with you, if I could snatch a couple of seconds, I'd probably consider moving up. You know what I mean? Because then I'm like, okay, I'm consistently in the top. I'm consistently up here. It's good. It's probably a good time for me to grow and get on up there. You know what I mean? So like if I could get one first place, I'm good. If I could get a couple of second places in a row, I feel like it would need to be consecutive. Otherwise, I'm still battling. You know what I mean? So, but that and that's what I want to do,
I agree with that. You're making the weight loss analogy. A lot of times people use this analogy for fitness or whatever. Like, am I just going to, my goal is to deadlift 500 pounds, which is obviously the most unrealistic thing for me ever in the world and will never happen as long as I live. But whatever. My goal is to deadlift 500 pounds. Perfect example, who will never be able to deadlift 500 pounds. Am I just going to walk up to a 500-pound barbell and try to deadlift it over and over and over again until
it comes off the ground?
Well,
right.
I'm very, very sorry to tell myself right here on this podcast that will never happen in a million years if that's what I do. But if I actually train and I actually put myself in that place where I'm fighting to succeed, so I'm, doing a program where I'm doing 5 sets of 5 reps at my 91% max of what I can actually lift, then I'm actually going to be making incremental progress and moving towards my goal. And so in what world are we freaking out on people saying, no, dude, go up to that barbell and deadlift 500 pounds until you can deadlift 500 pounds. That's what we're doing. Throw a 10 PPR until you can throw a 10 PPR.
Right.
And that's just not how that works.
How it works. And it's like, I don't hate on people who actually take that approach. I don't hate on a person who has such faith and confidence in their ability that they believe that they belong in advanced and they get beat and beat and beat and they just keep coming back. Respect, dude. But that's just not me. I need goals. I need benchmarks, I need to be able to seize or to see these things happen and unfold. I need to be able to feel what it's like to get to the top and then say, now it's time to get to the rest of the mountain. Now it's time to move on and go from here and head on up. But I'm not ready yet. I'm just not ready. So
I hear you. Well, cool. I mean, we will most certainly let everybody know when you are. And, for right now, you're where you're at. I'm where I'm at. I'm excited. And we're just getting better, trying to get better all the time.
Exactly right.
We really appreciate you guys listening. And we look forward to getting better together as a community. We love when you guys comment. We love hearing like a guy, I think his account's Schoolmasters, but he was commenting saying that, he took some advice from the show and ended up like winning and podiuming and stuff. So I was just like, that's so awesome. It's so cool. Like that's exactly what we're trying to do. And I'm really happy. And I don't know when I'm going to start winning from doing this podcast. It hasn't happened yet, but I think soon.
Oh, for sure. It's coming. You're going to get it. And yeah, there's nothing like it. I mean, we've both had people reach out and say things, just like, hey, I just want to let you know that really helped me, when you guys were talking about this, or it really helped me when you guys were talking about that. And it's seriously, that's what it's all about. I mean, that's the whole reason we're here. Yeah. And that's why we went into this deep dive today, because, we're not the only ones who struggle with these kinds of decisions. We're where we're at, and we have a solid community of players who are at our skill level, players who are trying to grow and get better, and players who are coming up and trying to just, improve. And it's so amazing how the community has reached out and embraced us for being the regular dudes who are just trying to get better at the game. And so it means the most to us that you guys, are finding what we're saying helpful. And that's why we went into this deep dive, because we're not the only ones having this problem. So hopefully what we've talked about today, you can take something from that. Hopefully maybe you've been inspired. Maybe you are the best in your division. Maybe you're schooling people in intermediate and you're just nervous because you don't want to take that next step. Maybe this will inspire you to take that next step, because it's to me, it sounds like you're ready. So thank you guys for reaching out. Thanks so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
Cool. Bye, everybody. See you in the next one.
See ya.